Hello friends, and welcome back to Handmade Not Hallmark. Amanda here. I want to welcome you to card number 4 of my 2021 Christmas card series. If you are new, I want to welcome you. If you are a returning subscriber, I want to say thanks for coming back. Today this card features some adorable images from Mama Elephant. I just love creating slimline scene cards. I hope you enjoy it too. Let's get into it. I am going to be using the Dashing Through the Snow and Scene Builder stamps and die sets from Mama Elephant. I really like these images. They're super fun and cute. I think they came out last year around this time. So they're not a new set, but they're still a lot of fun to work with. First, I'm going to do some ink blending on my Slimline panel here. I'm going to be using some spun sugar and shaded lilac. I really like this combination for winter scenes. It kind of reminds me of like early morning sky during the winter time. I used this color combination on a card a few years ago and I fell in love with it. I think it's a beautiful combination. They blend so well together and it gives you a nice soft sky instead of, something kind of dark and harsh that I would normally do for the winter time. I'm going to keep blending until I get the desired look. I'm using Bristol Smooth cardstock. This is my favorite cardstock for ink blending. It works really well with these distress inks and as well with the Oxide inks, which I used in my last card. Once I get that all ink blended, I'm happy with it. I'm going to hit it with my heat gun because I want to add some snowflakes to this. I'm going to be using this Slimline Snowfall stencil from Simon Says Stamp, and I want to add some textured snow. Instead of using, a gel pen or any kind of embossing or anything like that, I really wanted to use this texture paste. It's really soft and subtle in the end, so you can't really see it in the images, but in real life you can see it and it looks really pretty. And I wanted to add just a little bit of sparkle to it. So one of my favorite ways to do this is to use some perfect pearl powder. Now, if you had any kind of like glitter or any kind of shimmer, like I think Lawn Fawn came out with some like liquid shimmer stuff. You could use that as well, but I'm going to use this perfect pearls. A little goes a long way here. It looks like I'm adding a lot, but there's a lot of texture paste here, and I wanted to make sure I got a nice amount on there to mix it up. And I love how this looks. It's really subtle, but it's just enough to add a little bit of interest to these snowflakes. And I'm just using a palette knife here, and I attached the image to the back of the stencil with some washi tape just so it wouldn't move around on me. And we're just going to add that snowfall. Now, I didn't bring it all the way down the scene here because I'm going to be having some hillsides and other images in there. So I didn't need to go all the way down the panel, just on this top half. Once I had all of that texture paste added, I cleaned off my stencil and I went immediately over to my sink to get all of this cleaned off because once it dries like a rock and you'll never get it off again. So I'm going to set that off to the side and I'm going to start coloring. All of the colors that I use will be listed along the side here. I'm going to put on some music, and when it's all finished, we'll come back and finish up this sweet card together.
Decorated in town, among all the tinsel and lights, I'm strolling around, just wondering where you have gone to. Are you just around the corner or in Kathmandu? And whether yeah, and a dark purple. Still sometimes I wonder if you're near or off yonder, though I couldn't tell you why. But wherever you are, near or afar, outside my door or in some airport bar, I still wish you the merriest Christmas. I hope it will be all that you dream. I have nothing but love for you. You can trust that to be true. Yeah, I wish you the merriest Christmas of all. Girl, I wish you the merriest Christmas. I hope it will be all that you dream. I have nothing but love for you. You can trust that to be true. Yeah, I wish you the merriest Christmas, the merriest Christmas of all.
Once all the coloring was finished, I used the coordinating dies to cut out the little sled images, and then I used my scissors to fussy cut out these other images from the seam builder set. I don't have the dies for this. I felt like I didn't need it. These were easy enough to cut out, and I'm just going along the edge of this cut piece with a Tombow marker just to kind of clean up the edges, hide some, mistakes I might have made, and it kind of just finishes off the images, makes them look a little bit nicer. I really like doing this with fussy cutting because I'm not very good at it. If I can avoid fussy cutting, I will, but if I have to do it, this is one of the ways I like to kind of cover up any mistakes I might make. Next, we're going to start assembling our card. I've got a Slimline card base here. It is cut to 8.5 by 7, and then I scored it in half at 3.5 to get my side folding Slimline card base. And this is just some Simon Says 110-pound cardstock. And I'm going to use some Tombow glue just to attach down my back panel. And those snowflakes dried while I was coloring. It was a pretty thin layer, so I didn't have any issues with that. Next, I took some cardstock here, and I just used some stitched hillside borders from Honeybee to cut some kind of snowy hills to attach my images to, just to add some depth to the card and to the scene. I attached the mountains onto this panel first and just trimmed off the excess, and that way I knew I had the right sizes here. I cut these hillside panels using the same die I used to cut out my background panel. And I really like the depth that this adds. It's probably one of my favorite ways to create scene cards, is to add layers and depth. I think it really makes it look neat. A neat little snowy scene. While I'm assembling this portion of the card, I just want to say that if you're new here to the channel, I want to welcome you to our little community here. I really am happy that you stopped by, and to anybody who is a returning subscriber, I want to say thanks again for coming back. If you're new, this is my third year doing a Christmas card series. I really enjoy it. It's one of my most popular. It will run through to about the week before Christmas, barring any technical issues or anything like that. But my hope is to share as many cards as I possibly can up until the holidays. I have so many ideas. That's why I'm kind of not really sticking to a set number of cards or a set number, anything like that, so that I can share as many as I can possibly make until then. Once I've got all of my background images ready to go, I'm going to attach this last panel here. And I didn't think about it until after I had everything done that I wanted to add a greeting on this. Thankfully, I didn't use foam tape, so I didn't have any issues adding that greeting. If you use foam tape, sometimes you can have a hard time stamping over top of that, but luckily I didn't use that. I'm going to be using the Mixed Holiday Greetings from Mama Elephant. These are really wonderful holiday greetings, super sweet, really beautiful font. And at first I thought I'd stamp it down using that spun sugar, but it wasn't quite dark enough, so I went in with the shaded lilac color. Regular distress inks aren't necessarily great for stamping. They're more for, you know, the distressing and ink blending and things like that. But I eventually got it to work. Like I mentioned, I used the spun sugar first, but it was way too light. You couldn't read it. So I decided to go in with that shaded lilac, and it looked a lot better. Next, I wanted to stamp this little wee stamp from the same set, the Dashing Through the Snow set, but I didn't want it to be like in your face, super bright. So I stamped it down using some Simon Says fog ink. I wanted it to be subtle, but I wanted it to be there enough that you could see it and see that these little critters are having a good time. I think this fog ink is one of my favorites from Simon. I really like it because if you want to add a nice subtle kind of, you know, image or greeting or anything to kind of help round out your card, I really think that this fog ink is really great. I especially like using it on the inside of cards to, you know, either add, you know, a greeting or add, you know, another image enough that, you know, you can see it. It pulls all the cards together, and you know, it kind of rounds out the card. Next, I'm going to take some foam tape here. This is just some 3M foam tape, and I'm going to pop up these little critters. I wanted them to be popped up because they are the main focus of this card, and I just love these little guys. They are so sweet. Mama Elephant's images are so adorable, and they're a lot of fun to kind of mix and match with other sets because they all are drawn by the same artist. I'm going to go in with my glitter brush pen and add some shimmer to the little scarves and the trees and the mountains. And I do apologize if I'm out of screen a little bit here. It's kind of hard to kind of do slimline cards and get them all in the screen. I did the glitter brush pen first because I wanted to go over with some white gel pen detail. This is a white jelly roll pen from Sakura, and just adding some highlights to their little cheeks and to their scarves and things. I really like doing this with critters or animal critters. I really think it makes them stand out and gives them a lot of character. I added a little bit to the trees here. I wanted it to make it look like the trees were snowy as well. So I just took that jelly roll pen. You could use some glossy accents with some glitter. You could use a Marvy snow pen. There's lots of different things that you could use for this, but I felt like the gel pen was enough and it didn't take away from the image. I thought this looked really, really cute. And added some highlights to the mountains just to kind of add, you know, a little bit to them so they all kind of went together. Next, I wanted to add a second greeting to the top of the card. I felt like it was a little bit kind of blank up top. So I took some Simon Says clear embossing ink and another greeting from that same stamp set, and it says Slay the Holidays. I felt like it was a cute pun to go along with this little scene. I'm using some Brutus Monroe Alabaster White embossing powder, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink blend over top of this to do like an embossed resist to get a matching color to go with the card, and I ink blended it with that shaded lilac. So everything matches and it looks good together. I really like being able to use as many items from one stamp set as possible, just so you get the most use out of it and you don't have to keep pulling in a bunch of different products, especially whenever the greetings and things match and they all go together. Here I'm going to take that shaded lilac, and I'm just going to ink blend over top of that, and that embossing powder, or the embossing, is going to resist that distress ink and give me a nice bright greeting. And I'm just going to use a flag banner die from my stash. You could, you know, easily trim this out on your own with your paper trimmer or anything like that, but I'm going to use a flag die and just cut that out. And I'm going to pop it up with some Doris 3M foam strips. These foam strips are really great too. They're not super dimensional. They're just enough to add that dimension that you're looking for, but doesn't add too much bulk so that it makes it difficult to mail. I'm going to center that right over top of the mountains here, and I really think that rounds out this card. And I'm going to add some snowflake clay embellishments from Tailored Expressions. These have become some of my absolute favorites to use, especially for the holidays. I've been trying to get my hands on the ones from, I think they're from Pretty Pink Posh. They're the same sort of snowflake embellishments, clay embellishments, but they're sold out all the time. So again, I just wanted to add a few snowflakes here to kind of, add to the wintry scene, and that will finish up this card for today. I want to thank you again for stopping by and watching the video. If you liked the video, go ahead and hit that little like button and the subscribe. It is free to do. You don't have to do anything spectacular. It just helps support the channel, support the community, and really helps out me being able to bring you all of this wonderful content. And if you hit that little notification bell next to it there, you will be notified every time that I upload a video, especially during my Christmas series. I don't want you to miss out on anything that I share here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll catch up with you guys in the next video. Bye! On screen, I've got a few videos that I think you'll enjoy. Consider hitting the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more videos at my YouTube channel.